on, my 7th grade advanced class. Let's go knock out the homework today. We're going to be doing 1 through 20. I'm going to do all the odd ones, of course. When we start here, we see that we have 3y is less than or equal to -9. Of course, we're going to divide by 3, right? And whatever I divide from one side, I do the other. This is going to give me -9 divided by 3, which should give me a -3 as an answer. I'm not dividing by a negative number, so y should equal, or excuse me, y should be less than or equal to -3. Okay, when we go to the number line, because my y is in front, I'll follow the arrow here on my inequality and bring my symbol this, or my arrow this way. I will shade in my dot because there is a line underneath the inequality. Number 2 is for you to do. Number 3, we're going to be separating -3 from c. Because we'll be dividing by -3, we will be turning this inequality symbol in the other direction. We'll have to divide -15 by -3, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and 15 divided by 3 is 5. So c is going to be greater, well, excuse me, 5 will be greater than c. 5 will be greater than or equal to c. Okay, which means since c is on this side, to follow the arrow, we would have to bring it on, this side over here. I'm just going to write that out. So it would be c over here. We would turn this symbol around and then put the 5 here. Now we could follow the sign. The arrow is pointing this direction, and that's why it's pointing this direction here. Number 4 is for you to do. Number 5 is mine. Again, we see we have -20 is less than or equal to 10n. We'll divide 10 away from n. This is not a negative number, so we will not turn our symbol around. We're going to have to take -20 and divide it by 10, which will give us -2 is less than or equal to n. When we do this, we once again see that we have the n on the wrong side, so we're going to bring it over here, and we're going to turn our symbol around. And that means we can follow the arrow pointing in this direction for -2. All right, let's go to number 6 was yours, number 7 is mine. This time we're going to divide by 7.4. Again, that's not a negative number, so we won't turn our symbol around, and we'll divide 29.6 by 7.4. This will give us 4. When we do this, we'll have 4 is less than t. Once again, we have t on the wrong side. So if we want to follow our inequality symbol, we'll bring t over here, turn our symbol around, and bring the 4 over here. And now we see that we have an open circle because there's no line, and the arrow points to this direction. We're going to go to number 9 next. Number 9 says we have x divided by 2 is greater than -2. To solve this, I realize I'm going to have to do the opposite of dividing by 2. That's what we're doing here, dividing x by 2. That's going to be multiplying by 2. And whatever I do to one side, of course, I'll do to the other side. This will give me a -2 times 2, which is -4. We're not dividing or multiplying by a negative number, so my symbol will stay the same. Our answer should be x is greater than -4. We see that x over here is in front, so we can follow the inequality symbol. We'll use an open circle since there's no line showing that it equals -4. Number 10 is for you to do. Number 11, I see that I'm going to have to separate 8/3 from t. In order to do this, I'll multiply to the inverse, which is 3/8. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So I'll multiply this side to 3/8. Now the good part about this is I can put 16/1, and now I see I have an 8 on the bottom and a 16 on the top. I know 8 goes into the 16 2 times. So I can go ahead and cut the 8 out and make it a 1, cut the 16 and reduce it to a 2. Because 8 divided by 8 is 1, and negative 16 divided by 8 is negative 2. Now we simply multiply the top numbers together, and 3 times 2 is 6. And since this is negative 2, it'll be 3 times negative 2, making it negative 6. That means t is going to be greater than or equal to negative 6. Again, I want to move this around so I can follow my inequality sign. And as I said, t will be greater than or equal to negative 6, just as it says here. We'll shade in the dot and put our line there. And now we're headed to number 13. On number 13, I see that I have 22 is greater than or equal to 4 over 5. To separate 4 over 5 from w, I'm going to multiply to the inverse, which is 5 over 4. Whatever I multiply to one side, I have to do the other side. And now I have 5 over 4 times 22. Don't forget, I can put a 1 underneath here. And now 4 goes into 22. Well, it doesn't go in there, does it? No. I can divide 4 and 22 by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 22 divided by 2 is 11. And now I have 5 times 11, which is 55, divided by 2, right? 55 over 2 will be greater than or equal to w. Now I know 55 over 2 is actually an improper fraction. I know 2 goes into 55, well, I would say 27 times with 1 left over. This will give us, well, they kept it as 55 over 2. I would have also accepted 27 and 1/2, okay? Either way. And because w is less than or equal to 55 over 2, I would put my arrow pointing in this direction with a shaded dot. Number 14 is for you to do. I have number 15. We see that we're taking negative n, right, or n, and dividing it by negative 3, I should say. Since I'm dividing by 3, I can do the opposite, which is multiply by negative 3. This leaves n by itself. But whatever I do to one side, I have to do the other. And now I have 0.75 times negative 3. Well, if I put that over here, 75 times 3, and remember a positive times a negative will give me a negative answer, and this is a decimal. 5 times 3 is 15, carry the 1. 7 times 3 is 21, plus 1 makes 22. And since the decimal is 2 places over, it's going to be a negative 2.2. So I know that n is going to be, well, remember, we multiplied by a negative number. We're going to have to turn this symbol in the other direction. So n should be less than or equal to negative 2.25. When we make our number line, we're going to shade in our dot because there's an equal sign there. And we're going to go in the direction of the arrow after our variable. Number 16 is for you to do, and I have number 17. It says, a weather forecaster predicts that the temperature in Antarctica will decrease 8 degrees Fahrenheit each hour for the next 6 hours. How many hours would it take for the temperature to drop at least 36 degrees Fahrenheit? To set this up, I'm going to put my inequality showing that I started at a decrease of 8 degrees Fahrenheit, that's minus 8, for each hour, right? For each hour for the next 6 hours, right? Do I know how many hours that is? No. Since I don't know, I'm going to multiply this to t, which is time, okay? We don't know how much time, but we do know it will be represented by a variable. And remember, it said how many hours will it take for the temperature to drop at least. Now, it can be 36, or it can be less than 36, negative 36, right? So to drop, again, minus 36 degrees. So this can be less than or equal to. Now to solve it, I need to separate negative 8 from t. Since I'm multiplying negative 8, I'll have to divide by negative 8 to find my answer. Whatever I divide from one side to the other, and I see I have a negative 36 divided by negative 8. Well, negative divided by negative is a positive, and 36 divided by 8 is 4.5. You might have noticed they turned the inequality symbol around, and that's because we divided by a negative number. Does everyone see that? And the minute I divide by a negative number, I have to turn this symbol in the other direction. It will take at least 4.5 hours for the temperature to drop at least 36 degrees Fahrenheit. Number 18 is for you to do. I'm going to do number 19. It says describe and correct the error in solving the inequality. Let's walk through this one. First, it says we have negative 6 is greater than 2 over 3x. We multiplied 2 over 3 to the inverse, which is 3 over 2. This allowed us to go ahead and get rid of our 3's and our 2's and keep our x here. Remember, if we multiply one side to 3 over 2, it's only right to do it to the other side. Now I have a 3 times a negative 6, and that should give me a negative 18. And then we have a 2 times a 1 because this negative 6 is over 1. And that gave us 2. Now I have negative 18 over 2. And I'm showing that it's less than x. And here's my problem. You notice over here the symbol is in this direction. And for some reason, they decided to turn it around. But we never multiplied or divided by a negative number, did we? This was a positive number that we multiplied by. So we never should have turned the symbol around. The solution, x is greater than negative 9, is incorrect. It should be less than negative 9. Does everyone see that? X is less than negative 9. All right, let's see. 20 is for you to do. And that means that we're done with our homework in record time once more. We'll be starting 2.4 when we come back. And we'll grade tomorrow when you come in. Have a great night, and I hope you enjoyed your weekend.